Welcome to my desk. Today I'm going to be drawing movies I put on to fall asleep. So I need to have something on in order to fall asleep usually, or always. And sometimes I watch ASMR, sometimes I watch like a TV show, sometimes I put on a movie, and there are some movies that I put on a lot just to sleep. So I thought today would be a good day to draw for you some of those movies. And the first one that I want to draw today is Princess Mononoke. And if you don't know, this is a Miyazaki movie from Studio Ghibli. And just a brief summary is that it's about a young man living in a remote tribe that is attacked by a giant boar that is possessed. And the man kills the boar, but in the act of killing it, he is cursed by the same demon, which leads him on a journey to discover the source, and he learns of an ongoing battle and tension between an industrializing community and the forest and its inhabitants nearby. And Princess Mononoke is a human girl raised by wolf gods in the forest, trying to protect her forest and the creatures inside at any cost. And I do think that sounds heavy. Maybe not the kind of movie you might initially think would be good to fall asleep to. But as with all Miyazaki movies, it's beautiful, it's got good music, good voice acting, and beautiful colors and little creatures. So for all those reasons, and the fact that I've seen it a million times, I like to watch it to fall asleep. It's definitely one of the more adult themed Miyazaki movies, because usually they're kids movies, but there is some pretty graphic violence in this movie, and just a lot of just heavy, intense themes. But not to say that none of his movies are like this. I think a lot of his movies have similar themes of environmentalism. And this movie is no different than that. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it, but maybe stay awake for the first time. So that was Princess Mononoke. And I usually watch animated movies to sleep, but some of them are not, and this one is not. This one is a live action, and it's the 2005 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. I love this movie. If you haven't seen it, or if you don't know, it is based on a book by Jane Austen, which many people had to probably read in school, like me. About, I think, Regency era, maybe. British middle class family with 5 daughters. And because of the rules of the time, none of them are able to inherit their father's estate. So the mother of the family takes it upon herself to find each of them a suitable husband. And the second oldest of the sisters, played by Keira Knightley, falls in love slowly over time with one of the richest men in her area. And I do find it's a very beautiful film with lots of nature and art and good lighting and music. It was like a very modernized adaptation of this classic story that's been adapted so many times. And I just find it especially good to sleep to, because there's just a sense of ease and comfort that radiates throughout the story and the film. And even though there are some moments of drama, you never feel like stressed out watching this movie, I don't think. Or I don't. And I was reading that I guess now I know Matthew McFadyen from Succession and other movies and shows, but he was like a kind of like a no-name actor, so it was a little bit of a risk to cast him as Mr. Darcy. So in order to appease the studios, this is how I understood it, that they chose Keira Knightley because she had a bigger name and they were able to sell it more, even though the director initially had like doubts about whether she could play the role well or if it was how he envisioned it. There was like an anecdote about that Keira Knightley told, that he thought she was too pretty until he met her. Just such a rude way to get apart. But anyways, I do really love this movie. It's very relaxing, very calming, and romantic. So that is Pride and Prejudice. Alright, so the next movie that I'm going to draw is an animated movie, but it's stop motion. It's Coraline. And this movie I used to put on almost every night to fall asleep to. really loved Coraline. I still do, but it's been a minute since I've watched it. It's also like a little bit of a scary movie for some people. Not for me, obviously. But it definitely has some creepy elements, and the story is quite dark if you think too much about it. But again, I really love the art style and something about the cloudy, gray setting of the Pacific Northwest, and the barely perceptible choppiness of the stop motion animation just makes it really cozy and really just sends me off to sleep really well. But if you don't know, Coraline is about a young girl who moves away from her hometown with her parents to a mysterious, kind of like a boarding house or like a duplex, with like a boarded up tiny door that connects the two houses. And one day, Coraline, the main character here, discovers the door open and goes through it to a mirror version of her own world with a second mother and father and everyone else. And in this version of the world, everything is much better and inviting. Like, everything she dislikes about her own life is fixed in this new world somehow. But there is a sort of sinister nature to this, and she discovers that over time. I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. But okay, that is Coraline. Alright. And I'm going to draw one more today, I think. And this one is called Lost in Translation. Lost in Translation is a Sofia Coppola movie starring Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson. And if you were on Tumblr in 2015 or whenever it was, you've definitely heard of this movie. I used to be super into it and watching it all the time with my friends. It was very artsy indie kind of vibes. Now, in hindsight, are there a few things about it that don't sit right? Maybe. But I do think that the vibes of this movie are very comforting and relaxing. And one thing about Sofia Coppola, she knows how to make a soundtrack, curate a soundtrack. It's got a great soundtrack, but it's basically a movie about a famous aging actor who's visiting Japan in order to film an advertisement for a whiskey, and he meets this young woman who is equally as lost as he is in life, and they form a kind of bond. And I think it's definitely a story about feeling out of place, and some of the ways that this movie represents that. recommend it, just to see it for yourself. But with the maybe disclaimers that I've said. But okay, that is the last one that I'm going to draw today. There's more movies though that I watched to sleep. Anyways, that's it. Well, I hope you like this one. Let me know in the comments what you are falling asleep to these days. And I will see you in the next one.